Is anybody surprised that Donald Trump is outsourcing to MAGA right-wing influencers who are famous in the MAGA world for being famous the decisions about your and my national security? Like allowing Julie Kelly, yes, the Jan 6 denier, who's made a living going on television declaring that the Jan 6 insurrectionists were nothing but happy freedom tourists who Donald Trump proudly pardoned. That one, the one who writes books that nobody reads and goes on places like Tucker Carlson, she tweets out a social media post and gets fired, the head of the National Security Department of the Eastern District of Virginia U.S. Attorney's Office. Why is that important? Because the Eastern District of Virginia sits over the Pentagon and the CIA. It's where all our terrorism cases come from. In fact, the person who was canned because Julie Kelly tapped out something on her keyboard with no facts, no evidence. It's not like she did an expose. It's not like she said, hey, I've got insider sources of the Department of Justice that tell me that Michael Ben-Ari was involved with the resistance to Lindsay Halligan bringing a prosecution against James Comey. If she had that, some sort of intellectual or journalistic integrity, I would think, well, that's interesting. That's interesting reporting. No, it's just, isn't Michael Ben-Ari, who's prosecuting major terrorism cases right now and has for the last 20 years, he needs to go because he used to work under the Biden administration for Lisa Monaco. So he must have been part of the resistance that Lindsay Halligan, that non-federal prosecutor met when she came in to bring the Comey indictment. He's the reason the Comey indictment was a piece of you-know-what. I almost slipped. That's the reason that it's deficient, that it should be dismissed on its face, that it violates the Department of Justice manual, the principles of federal prosecution. That's because of Michael Ben-Ari. He wasn't even involved, Julie, but they don't care. They're firing the best and the brightest in the Department of Justice, and they're making us less secure as a nation as a result. I'm Michael Popok. You're here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. There has been now a long chain of people who are the best and the brightest of the Department of Justice who have been fired or resigned because of Donald Trump in the Eastern District of Virginia, all because he wants James Comey prosecuted. I got news for Donald Trump. Is that indictment dismissed yet? I mean, it is so pathetic. It is so underwhelming. It is so deficient on its face that coupled with vindictive prosecution as a motion and the fact that Lindsay Halligan was likely not properly appointed and is unconstitutionally serving as the U.S. Attorney of Virginia, put all that together, and this indictment's not on life support. It's Weekend at Bernie's. They're just putting a hat and sunglasses on it and moving it around, making you believe it's still an active live prosecution. It's not. Donald Trump just looked for his pound of flesh. And career prosecutors, yes, there was a group of career prosecutors who gave Lindsay Halligan a memo and said to her, no, you should not be bringing the Comey prosecution because the evidence is not with you, because perjury is going to be impossible here because he didn't perjure himself about leaks or anything else. But Michael Ben-Ari was not part of that. He's doing his job, his day job, to make us safer as the head of the terrorism unit within the Eastern District of Virginia. You know what he was doing when Lindsay Halligan was in hair and makeup? He was prosecuting the Kabul airport, a terrorist attack that killed 13 Americans and wounded 170 and killed 170 Afghanis. That's what he's been doing, Lindsay, while you were going through the Smithsonian trying to figure out how we can get slavery out of the African American Experience Museum. And how can we get rid of references to, impeachment in the Smithsonian when it comes to presidents? That's what he was doing to keep us safe, along with his colleague Maya Song. She's gone as well. And his number two was James Comey's son-in-law, Troy Edwards, and he resigned in protest a week or so ago when Comey was indicted. I've said this before. If you want to screw with the Department of Justice, which you've already done, it's now completely destroyed as a legitimate law enforcement entity that commands any respect at all in federal courts, in front of grand juries, in front of juries, or the rest. You've destroyed that. But if you want to F with the individual offices of the U.S. attorney's offices in the 93 districts, go pick one that doesn't matter. I'm being a little bit sarcastic here, tongue in cheek. Go to Wyoming, go to Idaho, go somewhere that's red. Stop screwing with the top offices in America. Eastern District of Virginia, terrorism cases or espionage cases are prosecuted there. And having an 8-year auto accident, fender bender lawyer, no prosecutor experience, who spent more time in hair and makeup, on going on Newsmax and Tucker Carlson and Fox and being a beauty queen runner-up than being a lawyer, let alone never being a federal prosecutor. And the fact that you get rid of the legitimate prosecutors who have been working their ass off for the last 20 years for multiple presidents to keep us safe, that's an indictment against the Trump administration. That's an indictment against the Department of Justice. Let me show you, for those that are wondering, who the F is Julie Kelly, and why does she get to make me and my national security world less secure? Why does she get to compromise it from the comfy confines of wherever she lives in the United States with her, I think I saw her bio, with her 2 cats and her husband? Okay, good for you. What makes you a journalist? What makes you a commentator? Look, there's plenty of people that may say out there, why do I have to listen to Michael Popok? The answer is, under the First Amendment and freedom of speech, you don't. You can do what you want. But why does Julie Kelly get to fire people like she's a junior Laura Loomer? Who is she? Because she went down and with her tambourines and whatever, tried to campaign to get the Jan 6ers released because she didn't like their conditions. They were in jail, Julie, because they were the most brutal attackers of law enforcement with homemade weapons that they brought, makeshift weapons, bear spray, flagpoles, knives, baseball bats, police gear, shields out there. And federal judges who've seen it all, took one look at it and said, no, you don't satisfy the conditions for being pretrial released. Stay in jail. Oh, no, we got a choir. Oh, no, they should all be pardoned. In fact, let me show you Julie Kelly on Newsmax celebrating the release of the Jan 6ers. Let's play it.
How Democrats use the Capitol protests to launch a war on terror against the political right. Julie, you are the authority on this, and it's great to have you with us today. So thank you.
Thanks, Bianca. Thanks for having me on.
First off, talk about your reaction. When did you hear that there would be the pardon and the commutation? Because you've followed this and you know how long these people have waited for the justice here.
So, just like everyone else did, I figured that this was coming and was waiting all day for it, and very pleased to see what the president did. I really want to emphasize what a courageous and compassionate move this was by President Trump. This is not an easy decision to make. He was getting political pressure, and we're still seeing this from Republican senators. I know you just spoke with Representative Stubbe, who gave a good answer there, but Republican senators, not so much. They are denouncing his pardon of so-called violent offenders. So this was a tough call, but the right call to make. And I really want to commend the president for doing it.
That's who Julie Kelly is.
Hey everybody, Ben Meiselas here from the MeidasTouch Network. I wanted to let you know about my podcast partner, Michael Popok's new law firm. It's called the Popok Firm. Michael Popok's pursuing his dream of starting his own law firm, really based on the popular demand by all the Meidas Mighty and legal AFers who were approaching Michael Popok with their cases and saying, can you help us? And at that time, Popok was not able to. So he went out on his own. He started the Popok Firm, where he is now handling catastrophic injury cases like car accident cases, trucking cases, malpractice cases, big negligence cases, wrongful death cases. So if you or someone you know have a case like this, the consultation with Popok's firm is free. Give him a call. See if you have a case. It's thepopokfirm.com, thepopokfirm.com, or you can call 877-POPOK-AF, P-O-P-O-K-A-F. So 1-877-POPOK-AF. Give Michael Popok a call. And I'm really proud of you, Popok. Thanks for all the hard work you're putting in.
It'd be one thing if she had anything. Like, I have it under good authority that Michael Ben-Ari, the head of the terrorism unit within the Eastern District of Virginia, and I've spoken to insiders within the Department of Justice, and they say he's part of the resistance that Lindsay Halligan met. No, he's not. He's not, actually. She then made some ridiculous leap of logic. Well, he used to work under Lisa Monaco, the number 2 in the Department of Justice under Merrick Garland, so he must have been part of the resistance. Look, the fact that nobody came to Lindsay Halligan's assistance or aid, that's not on Michael Ben-Ari, who had, according to reporting, had nothing to do with it. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he put out a plate of cookies and lemonade for Lindsay Halligan's arrival, but he certainly isn't part of the resistance. There were career prosecutors who put together a memo that said, no, you're violating the Department of Justice manual, the rules of the federal principles of prosecution. You can't bring this. But that wasn't Michael Ben-Ari or Maya's song. Wrong. And now you just made us less safe as a result. The fact that Donald Trump listens to Laura Loomer and Julie Kelly shows the complete descent, not just into madness, but a complete descent into incoherence, into instability, mental instability. We like to talk a lot on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. I don't expect the sitting president to fire somebody on my say-so. But Donald Trump outsources it to people like Julie Kelly. Oh, Laura Loomer doesn't allow you to Loomerize. If you're Loomered, you're not going to be long for your job. Why? Laura Loomer already got rid of a dozen national security advisors because she didn't like them. And she made some sort of link back to Obama or Biden. And now we've lost the best and the brightest in the Department of Justice in an office where we can't afford to do that. So where do we go from here? I guess is the right answer. We got to continue to train our attention and our artillery on these types of issues. It matters that the Department of Justice is in shambles. It matters that the Department of Justice might as well change its name to the Department of Injustice. It matters that incompetence and traitors are running these departments. Traitors to their profession. Traitors to the American people, traitors to their oath that they took to be lawyers. Lindsay Halligan, you may have never been a member of a federal bar. You may never have been a member of the Virginia bar or the Eastern District of Virginia bar, but you've sworn an oath somewhere to become a lawyer, to uphold the Constitution, to abide by the rules of professional responsibility for your profession. That's what we are. We are professionals. We took an oath. We are officers of the court. Act like it. And for those that are still in the Department of Justice, I saw somebody recently say, well, I don't blame them. I think Ellie Honig actually said it on Legal AF. Well, they want to keep their jobs and I understand it. They shouldn't be held accountable. No, I disagree, Ellie. I think that they should be. Anybody that's still remaining after watching this administration and figuring out that you're not going to be able to be the resistance from the inside. Like, people are probably fooling themselves thinking, well, I'll just stay in this job and I'll be my own little resistance. And no, you're not going to be. You're just going to be the henchman to implement and the enabler to implement Donald Trump's policies. And those of the ones that are against civil liberties, against civil rights, against constitutional rights, against immigrants, and dismantling of our justice system. That's what you're doing. So I don't want to hear, well, it's a paycheck, and who am I to suggest that somebody should? Yes, I'm suggesting. There are plenty of other jobs out there. Better jobs at this moment. If you want to do justice, then go join one of the public interest groups that's doing justice every day in the courts around America. Democracy Forward, the American Civil Liberties Union. There's dozens of them. There's law firms that have been specifically created in the last 11 months to represent targets of the Department of Justice and of Donald Trump. Go join them. There's even some remaining law firms that are willing to tangle with the Trump administration. Go join them. They'll take you, I assure you. Get out of the Department of Justice. Well, I'm glad you're here on the MeidasTouch Network. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button. Come over to Legal AF, where we're really building that community as well in collaboration with MeidasTouch. Hit the subscribe button there. Come over to Legal AF Substack. Now you're a full-fledged card-carrying member of Legal AF. Until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.